Bernie, I'm following you.
And your face seems very familiar. I'm sure we've crossed paths before, haven't we?
Yeah, at least via LinkedIn. And I have to hand it over.
Oh, of course,
yeah,
sorry.
of course.
Right, there we go.
You have heard of BI or Die?
I have, yes. I think I've seen it on LinkedIn, yes.
Okay, that's nice, actually.
Cool.
I mean, you're the first keynote speaker, so that says probably everything about the importance of your topic and you as well. So how do you feel just 30 minutes up front of your talk?
So, relieved to be here. Air traffic control nearly finished me off, so very pleased to be in Switzerland. A little bit sleepy. On my third cup of coffee, yeah, good coffee, and looking forward to it. Yeah, every time I've been to Zurich previously, really good crowd. We've got some great guests here today, so yeah, it should be great. My session sets up all of the following sessions, so it links very nicely into Jürgen's work, into Ben's piece as well. So it should give a sort of structure and backbone to what we're talking about today.
I mean, you're, at least as I observe you, as kind of the KPI guy. So maybe that's wrong, but maybe we just dive into a few questions. And my first question which came to my mind was, why are companies still struggling or failing even to define and select proper KPIs from your experience?
Because it's hard. Okay. I mean, put very simply, there's no two ways about it. And there are lots of confusing messages, lots of competing methods. And that's the problem that I identified about 15 years ago and set out to solve. Because no individual step in choosing your KPIs is hard in itself, but there are hundreds of decisions that you need to make, and you need to have a clear sense of direction. And I found myself in 2010 sitting down with a client, drawing a diagram of the steps that I thought we needed to go through to choose the right KPIs. And I realized at that point there is a process, and you can bottle it. You can create a generic process that works in any situation. And really it all came from that. So I wrote my first book, KPI Checklists, in 2012. I've written quite a few since then on that. And my offer is a structured, reproducible method that doesn't rely on content-specific knowledge. You don't want to have to always find a specialist in operations or warehousing or finance KPIs as such. You'll have specialists in the organisation, and the challenge I saw was, how do you take their expertise and then harness that and turn it into KPIs? So that's the principle, and it seems to work pretty well. It's worked for everything from top flight football through to making aeroplanes. It's a sort of generic approach.
And this generic approach, that's the, you call it ROCs, I
ROCs,
guess?
that's right. So and I'll talk about this in the session today, but very simply, it's all about working backwards from the strategic outcomes that you want. So I look at KPIs as simply tools to help you get wherever you want to go. So the ROCs method is about being really clear about where we want to go, about engaging the right people, and then a visual structured method for breaking that strategic objective down using a kind of specialist form of strategy maps and turning it into a visual representation of all the things we could measure in the business, and then a structured method for prioritising which ones we actually do want to measure. Because one of the most common problems you hear, I hear two problems all the time. Firstly, we have far too much data and kind of incoherent information, and then the other thing is, how do we fit everything on one dashboard? Those are the two big challenges. So the fourth step of my method is about creating a ranking system where you review each of those things that you could measure, and you say, how simple is it to measure, how important is it, and you create a kind of live database, if you like, of potential KPIs. And then implementing is obviously critical. Visualization is super important, and Jürgen will be doing a great job today talking about how to do that expertly. So yeah, the method, the ROCs method, kind of ties it all together. And I'll be talking about the selection and design part of the KPI process today, and then handing over to Jürgen for visualization and Ben for some of the practicalities.
And I mean, you mentioned also the bridge kind of to the visualization. So what is more relevant or more important? Is it starting with good KPIs and then transferring them into proper visualizations, or how what is your thinking?
So when I, in an earlier life, I helped organisations improve using Lean Six Sigma, and with that process, every step of the method has to work. You have something called an improvement cycle, and if any link breaks, the whole thing breaks. And it's just the same with the KPI BI process. If you choose the wrong KPIs, if you mess up your visualization, if your meeting structure isn't right, any of those things go wrong, it's pointless. So actually, coming back to your original question, why is it so hard? It's because everything has to work to a greater or lesser extent to get any benefit from it. And even if you do 9/10 of it well, if you mess up the review and action taking part of the process, everything that comes before it was for nothing. So I think that's probably one of the reasons people find it so hard. It's quite a complex system. Quite a lot of things have to work first time, or at least work right. And if any of them go wrong, you don't see the benefit. It becomes frustrating, it becomes a burden, an overhead, and everyone goes, oh, KPIs are a waste of time, they're too confusing. And it's normally because one of the links, or maybe more than one of the links, isn't working properly or is completely broken.
I mean, what we talk about is probably financial KPIs just from the beginning. And then my question was, okay, why are the people still struggling as they are well defined and stuff like that? Okay, aligning them to the strategy, okay, that's definitely a hassle. But if we come to non-financial KPIs, especially the ESG environment, of course, I can assume that that's even next level of challenge. But what's your experience in that?
Well, I spent the last 3 months thinking about ESG KPIs. So my methodology, KPI trees, I actually build pre-built KPI trees. I'll talk about KPI trees today. I build them to help get people started because it is hard starting with a blank sheet of paper. So I've spent the last 3 months thinking very hard about, what makes up ESG? And the challenge is it's actually quite an eclectic family of different things. You've got some quite hard-nosed measurable things like air quality and emissions in there, but you've also got some much more soft social issues around equity and equality in there as well. And we have to start asking really hard questions about what is equality, what is equity, and that's the reason it's hard. Once you answer those questions, then figuring out the KPIs is not too hard, but breaking it down into a series of simple statements. What is equity? That's the difficult bit, and that's why people find it hard. But you have to answer those questions in order to come up with meaningful measures. Otherwise, you're just picking measures off Google, and you don't end up with anything coherent or anything that you can defend and put your hand on your heart and say these are the right things to measure. So I would say that ESG KPIs are up there with the other hardest topic to measure, which is innovation. There's certain things that are easy, certain things that are hard, and those things are inherently quite tough.
And then maybe just a few words about the Swiss CFO event today. What are you expecting? Are you nervous? Are you looking forward to it? What is your personal takeaway?
I'm really pleased to be here. I know from presenting in Zurich before, people are polite, they're engaged, they're interested, so I'm genuinely excited to be here. I also love the fact that people turn up on time and turn up when they say they're going to turn up. I know it's a cliche, but it actually gives you a real boost as a presenter to have a room full of interesting, engaged people. Keen to find out more.
Perfect, and I hope that this little pre-warning to your talk was also a good exercise. Thanks a lot for your time and enjoy the talk.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot. Interview, how do you feel? Very, very important, or?
Terribly.
You are, of course.
No, relieved. I'm fully caffeinated and I've got through my talk, so it's a good place to be. Yeah, no, it was a good group. Nice to see a full room as well.
And even they asked questions. That was really amazing and really detailed question.
Yes,
I didn't expect that.
Wasn't expecting it. No, I need to circle back and have a proper conversation. I'll be honest, I wasn't completely sure on where he was going with that question, so I need to give it a bit of thought.
But of course, we have some time later on to deeply dive into this one.
Yeah, good. So I'm.
You're going. I'm going back, and then you can continue with the right.